I've given a shout out to one of our regular listeners, Tim Clements, but apparently, they listen to it to fall asleep to. It's
ASMR kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we all have to know our role.
Yes.
And
yes.
And well, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Haley told me that also. She listened to it on 1.8 speed.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know how. I guess we're too slow for her. I don't know.
Did that make it better?
I don't know.
We could talk faster.
I'm like, I got to slow things down.
You want to try it? Let's just speed run it and see what happens.
Let's do it.
Welcome.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, we got a special guest.
Hey, yeah, we do.
We don't have to.
We do have special guests.
Let's don't bring him in just yet. Let's make him wait.
Well, I will say this. I mean, this is what episode are we on?
24.
Okay, so we're averaging about 10% of our episodes have your family on it. So I'm thinking, we got some catching up to do.
So who's your first family member that's going to get the call?
Well, probably my Uncle Tony, but he passed away. But, I would have loved to have him on.
Wait a minute. If I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is that...
You asked who my first choice was. I didn't say it's available.
Your other family members are so far down on the list that you would rather have a dead relative on.
Look, what would the listeners like to hear?
If I'm
my Uncle Tony had a lot of stories.
If I'm your brother right now, I got to be fuming.
Look.
Come on. Why can't I get the call? He's dead.
Yeah.
It's time to move on.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Speaking of brothers.
Yeah. Speaking of brothers.
We are joined today by my younger brother.
Yes.
Jordan Ivy Johnson.
Yes.
Legend.
Is that your middle name?
That is.
Okay.
So I assume
is it your middle name?
Are we rolling?
Yeah. Is it your middle name?
Right.
No, mine is Hayes.
Oh, okay.
I'm the third Hayes. We have 4 Hayeses in succession.
Okay.
But mine is spelled incorrectly. But hey, it's all good.
There's so many things on this podcast that I learn that Josh says.
Okay.
I'm like, I had no idea that was part of our history, our family.
Yeah. Well, that's the firstborn.
Yeah.
Look, hey, I'm with you.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
with you.
What are some of those things?
I guess when Dad was on Microwave Mitch.
Yeah.
Mitch Johnson.
Yeah.
There was just a few. Talk about slow cooked. You know what I'm saying?
Why are we calling microwave? It should be crock pot. Crock pot.
No,
bitch.
Microwave is more appropriate.
Okay.
He wants things to happen
now,
quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
that's the only way he could make us food growing up was if
I
it was in the
understand.
microwave.
Okay.
I don't remember him ever making us food growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a vague recollection.
Well, now there is an age gap here.
About 5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
6 years in school, but 5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
And that made for a really great. We've told this story before, but that made for a great. When I was basically out of college and wanted to hit the road in a rock band.
Yeah.
What grade were you in?
Oof. When we started going pretty heavy, I was probably 10th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember you telling me the story is like y'all's first little tour. The summer something that your mom actually went with.
She went on the first East Coast run.
East Coast run. And you told me some story, but I think this might have been West Coast, but you told me a story about the guy who was booking the show. Y'all go to his house the day of.
Yeah.
And you walk up and on the front porch
and
is the guy's brother.
His younger brother who's
like,
how old was he? 14?
I think he was younger than I was.
Yeah. And he's
just
with a fifth of Jack Daniels.
A handle of Jack. Just sitting on
a
the
cigarette.
porch, just waiting on us to get there. Hey guys.
Yeah. And your mom
just rolls up like, what are you doing, child?
He was very inviting there.
Yeah, he's warm. He's
hey, Mom.
Yeah. That was funny. So that was the only tour run that she did with us. But you were 10th grade.
Yep.
And that's a very, imagine your kid in school. What grade's he in now? If he came to you and said, hey, Dad.
Carter's going to be in the 10th grade.
Yeah. So I am I'm going to leave for the
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play in Atlanta and Charleston and Orlando.
Yeah.
And then I'll be back next week.
Yeah, I wouldn't do well. I mean, it was funny last night. My cat likes to go outside at about 8 o'clock every night. And it'd be real nice if the cat wanted to come back in around 9 before I get in bed. Mm-hmm. But the past few nights, the cat wants to stay out till 1 a.m. And I just don't sleep well knowing my cat is outside, just waiting for the cat to start scratching on my door to let it in.
It's just the anticipation.
And so I made the comment last night. I was like, I'm just gonna be a wreck when my kids like want to go out at night.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna be able to go to sleep with them out on the roads.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine being away for a month at a time.
When I was in 10th grade, I barely made it to South Park.
Yeah.
I barely made it to South Shreveport.
Yeah.
And so his experience in high school was just so different.
Yeah. So do you feel like you took on some responsibility as parenting?
No.
No. Yeah, of course. It's like,
Yeah.
because I don't know, I'm maybe 23,
Yeah.
24, something like that. So,
Yeah.
we were fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made it. Hey, we're here.
That's right. They're here today.
You're here today.
We're here today. But
And so finding out new stuff about. So should we have the parents on so y'all can find out more stuff about your parents? I mean, obviously,
Probably.
putting a microphone on their, in front of them might mean that they
That's
actually
right.
open up and share some things.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
what we
right.
need to do?
well, my mom was so wounded that my dad didn't have the dates right for when I was born and when they were married.
Oh.
She was so upset about it.
Okay.
And she made the point. She was very adamant. She came in. This was all she took from the podcast, by the
Okay.
way,
Yeah.
other than the Bible verses that you like to talk about. She's very upset about that too, by the way. But so she's like, I want everyone to know.
Yeah.
We were married for 12 months. Then I was pregnant. Then
Okay.
we had you. And so
Okay.
she wanted
Yeah.
to make everybody
Yes.
know.
Don't judge her.
That's right. I was not born or conceived out of
Judgment-free
wedlock.
zone.
That's right.
I think my favorite verse on the statements
Yes.
that went out was
Yes.
Jesus wept.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think there was one. I mean, they were pretty some obscure from like minor prophets. I'm like, hey, we're digging for these. I think this might be taken out of context.
minor
I
prophets.
might have also seen this verse on a Trump campaign.
Well, that's where she's pulling inspiration
that's
from
right.
now.
Hey, I like that one.
That's
I like
right.
that one.
That's right.
Save
Yeah.
that one for the invoices
Yeah.
next month.
But listen,
right.
Jordan, in addition to being my brother,
Yes.
he's a fairly faithful listener.
Yes.
I am. Yeah.
You will give a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
I try.
Yeah.
I try.
Yeah.
Not critical.
Yes.
Well, some of it's been a little critical, but that's fine.
Yeah,
we're
hey,
here.
hey.
We need to hear it.
Hey,
No,
we need to hear it.
I think the only critical part was there was one guest that you couldn't see their face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
Look
look,
at this. Look
look,
at this. The
look.
studio made. I mean, they
Yeah.
heard.
They took that in. Yes, they made an investment into this.
Hey, this is beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, it's
and
great.
in fact,
This is
Jordan
great.
said, until you get new mic stands, I'm not coming on. I remember him saying that. So, new mic stands, he's here,
Yeah. So, brother, faithful
brother.
listener, and now professionally, how would you describe yourself?
So what I do now is residential construction. I was with Ivy Lumber Company for, anytime we were home off the road.
Yep.
I think we were both kind of working at the store. And through that, my wife and I decided probably 12 years ago that we were going to build and sell in Stonewall. We'd go up there and we would build, and every 2 years we would sell it, try to flip it, and you can do that as a homeowner.
Yeah.
Once a year, I think, but to capital gains.
If you're in the right place.
That's right. If
you're building in the right place.
That's right. So we did that, and our ultimate plan was to always get back to Grand Cane, where we both are now. So once I started doing that, I was also selling lumber for Ivy Lumber, which I loved. It was a lot of fun, but my brother is more of the he can be at the store all day long.
Yeah.
And I that's not me.
Yeah, you don't want to sit behind a desk.
I don't.
No.
I hate it.
In fact, Jordan built my house.
Yes,
that I
did.
did. Yep.
That's
Yep.
right. In Benton.
So yeah, in Benton. Yeah, we bonded.
We did.
I remember the first night in, like, one of the toilets wasn't flushing right. He's like, I'll be there in an hour. I'm like, dude, don't drive out here. It's like 8 o'clock at night. Like, don't drive out here.
You should have just FaceTimed him.
But I think we both learned a lot through that experience.
We did.
Middle of the pandemic.
So
the worst time to build a house.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was. I think your house was the first one that I did as Cadence Contracting full time.
Yeah, full time.
So that was I left Ivy's in 2020, and I think that's right when we started.
Yeah.
So it was a learning experience.
I think at the end of the project, which took 9 months, 10 months,
something like that.
It was like, would either one of us do it again? For how we did it, probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. It's like halfway through the construction, I'm like, man, next time I build a house, I'm changing this. The house isn't even built yet.
Yeah.
So
you always,
but you do that, and that's what we did. For those houses that we did until we did the last one. Every time you build one, you think, hey, I would do this different.
Oh yeah.
And that was our plan. Was let's finally get to the last one. Build that one in Stonewall and see what we like and don't like about it. That way we can build the last one in Grand Cane. And we did that until we built the last one, and it was totally different than the house we thought we would always build. And now I'm 2 years into the final house, and I'm like, oh god, we got to change this, we got to do that. So,
well, I mean, how many acres do y'all have out there?
He's got a few extra. He could.
Okay, yeah.
He could try something on
3 or 4 more houses.
Yeah, there you go.
Years.
There you go. We could have a little subdivision out there.
We could.
I think zoning, the permit.
Yeah.
They'd
so
allow
who
that.
goes? So who orders more pizza from the Grand Cane
from the gas station?
from Shaw?
Well, so
from the Shaw.
I do.
Okay.
Because his lovely daughter Piper.
Yeah.
She stays with us.
Yeah.
And she will crush a pizza by herself.
Yeah.
So when I ordered,
rightfully so. I mean, I've been to their house once. I was like, hey, can I go to Jordan's? Well,
Yeah. So I know that when I'm ordering pizza, which is probably 4 nights out of the week, because it's in Grand Cane, there's one gas station.
Yes.
And at the moment, it's the only place you can eat right now.
Okay.
There's another little restaurant, but it had a fire, I think.
I'm not sure.
So they're rebuilding it, but that's really all you can get. So I know we're gonna order an extra pizza and a half when Piper's coming.
Yeah.
She loves pizza.
There's board meetings at Hunt Brothers Corporate right now.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're looking down at the map and they're just like,
"This is really what's this red dot
happening
right here
in Grand Cane?
Red dot here, yeah.
They are the #1 volume dealer in America for Hunt Brothers.
Yeah.
What's happening and how do we duplicate this?
Yes.
They're saying that.
They have to be.
Yes.
And so to be clear, though, the gas station's owner name is the
Shaw. Yeah.
Shaw. Okay.
Shaw.
Good.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify.
Okay.
And he actually, and we haven't started really anything, but he's got plans drawn. He wants to add a commercial strip right there to the left of the gas station. And then he wants to add a motel on the right side. I haven't had the heart to tell him yet that, hey, we don't really want a motel right here across the street. But, but we'll see about it. But yeah, he is very adventurous, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of plans. But
Shaw means God willing. So hey, God willing, we'll have a commercial. We'll have a downtown Grand Cane.
Yeah, we will.
That's
but
right.
I did tell him. I said, hey, look, if you do a commercial strip, I'll put I'll have an office there. So,
and
there you go.
And you have been branching out. Great transition, but with residential home building slowing down because of interest rates.
Yeah,
you have been transitioning. What have you been doing?
So the beginning of this year, I had to pivot into more remodeling, and I always was against remodeling. I didn't want anything to do with it for whatever reason. I don't know. I feel like a lot of contractors don't want to do a lot of remodeling. Now you do have your remodelers, that come in the store there, but interest rates were killing people.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you know that. So I would get to the finish line with several different couples, and then they would kind of get their rate quote, and they'd just say, hey, we can't do it right now. So in order to not go back to Ivy Lumber, I had to transition to remodeling.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that all year, and turns out I love it.
Yeah.
It's a totally different game.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a different. You go in it, new construction. Exactly. I mean, it's a blank slate.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Remodeling with your client, you almost have to be like, hey, look, here's what I think I can do this for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Until we get in here and start tearing stuff apart, we have no clue.
That's for sure.
And so it kind of has to be a little bit of you have to
Yep.
trust the client. There's a lot of trust that needs to be there.
Yeah, no doubt. Because you don't know, and you have to explain it to them. Say, hey, we want to move this wall, but whenever we take this out, and there's mold here, there's whatever it is. You try to be upfront with them about that. That way, there's no surprises. There can be surprises, but that's the last thing people want in construction are surprises.
Well, but by now, I mean, everybody's watched enough episodes of those TV shows where, right before the great party, there's always that scene where they're like, "Oh yeah, and so this beam is going to cost you an extra, $20,000," and they're all panicked, because it wasn't expected. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in.
When I watch those shows, especially like the guys in Waco when they were doing their shows, and they're like, talking about, the big thing is, how much these people are having in equity after it's all done.
Yeah.
They're like, construction, $40,000. I'm like, who are they hiring to do this? Like, what?
I know it. Yeah.
Like, that is way
it's
under.
Like the house is like $23,000 or something.
Yeah. And then it's like, so people are coming to me, like, or, the best is one of those shows at the end of it. And maybe it's Fix It or Flip It, but at the end of it, they have an open house, right? And there's like 50 people waiting to get in this open house.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, do an open house. Look, I watched this. Our clients will be like, hey, 50 people show up to your open house. I'm like, not really.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nosy neighbors.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's right. I think I like zombie house flipping.
Zombie.
The best.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I've watched that one before.
But all their numbers are never.
No, they're never right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because they don't want to show what their profit actually is as
That's
the
right.
contractor. So
Yeah.
they're just showing that true at cost.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Have you been approached by one of the networks for a house flipping show? I mean,
Not yet.
How do we? Get that
I
going?
actually got a phone call a couple years ago.
Did you really?
Yeah. And they knew that I was doing a lot of the low income houses, going in and
Okay.
fix them up. And they're like, can we do a Zoom meeting with your team? Do you they were asking about like, who's part of your team and what's their personality like? And finally I was like, look guys, I don't even like, what would be the value of me even doing this? Like,
So let's reach out to 50 if you're listening.
That's what I was just going to say. We need to find
Mr.
50
Cent.
Yeah,
Mr. Cent, if you're listening,
Mr.
we've
Cent.
got a great idea for a house flipping / construction real estate crossover
well,
show.
he is buying a bunch of properties downtown. So.
Yeah, I've actually got a buddy that he's also a contractor, Heberlin Homes. Shout out to Heberlin Homes.
Dusty? I know Dusty.
Yeah, Dusty. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
Somehow, I think his mother-in-law is tied in with 50 Cent. And he was kind of telling me about that. And I guess he wants to kind of invest into Shreveport.
Is that our best? Is that our best avenue to get 50 on here? Do we need to start a little petition campaign here?
I think so. A
to
little
get
social
50 on
media, a
here?
little tidal wave.
Yeah.
We're going to hit him with 10 people.
I did send him a message on
Did you?
Instagram. I haven't checked it. I don't have I have an Instagram because I have a Facebook, but I don't check it regularly, so I don't know if he's responded yet or not.
Yeah. Well,
but
TBD, listener. TBD.
yes. Yeah.
So remodeling, you've been doing remodeling.
Yes.
How many houses do you think you've built at this point? New home.
I don't know. I would say the first 2 years, like I said, 2020 went full time. The first 2 years, it was averaging probably about 10 a year.
Okay.
And then as, things started climbing, it kind of fell from that. But 10 a year for me, just kind of being on my own, I do have someone that helps me when it gets super busy. But that's almost too much.
Well, let's be specific. You're talking about custom homes.
Yeah, these are custom homes.
This is
Yes,
not.
yes.
You're not.
Yeah, if I was
spec
rolling-
homing it,
yes.
it's
If I was
not
rolling
the same
spec
model.
homes,
Every
yeah.
home's different.
That's right. It is.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot more time and care and a lot more attention because you're working with someone who's essentially your boss, and you want them to be satisfied. So, but yeah, if it was spec home, it'd be totally different.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried to do a spec because we're talking about starting some, but it's just different right now.
Yeah, and I will say, Jordan, if he had deadlines to meet or things needed to get done, because subs will kind of stack on each other, right? And so you got to get something done and so there were several days we pulled up and he's just covered in dirt and sweat, and he was out there doing the work, I guess, because he's needed it done. So
sometimes you have to do that.
Sometimes I felt bad. I mean, I didn't pitch in, but I did feel bad. I'm like, dude, we can wait an extra day or two.
That looks tough.
Tough.
Leighton would pull up and you'd be like, well, see you later.
Listen, as a money man, he's working with his mind.
Yeah.
He's not working with his hands.
Leighton.
Yeah, Leighton.
Yeah.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, but now you've actually taken on a little bit of commercial work. So what's that like?
Yeah. So there's actually a guy out of Grand Cane. And we kind of grew up with him, but he has a commercial license, and I'm a residential home builder, so I have the residential license, but he has a commercial license, and he kind of got into remodeling some commercial buildings and even building some. It's light commercial, it's not restaurants and things like that. There's an office building that we have going, so he kind of pulled me on his team to help him do that. So we've partnered together and we've been doing some light commercial, and that's a lot of fun. And that is also a totally different game than residential, than remodeling. So commercial, there's a lot more red tape you have to go through, but we're learning about it, and it's a lot of fun for sure. It's a different world. So I have been doing that this year. Some of the light commercial and remodeling has really kept it afloat right now, because new home startups what are they down to right now?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they're down.
They're down. The whole market's down. But a good percent.
So I'm hearing things, and Leighton, you can clarify this. I'm hearing things from the real estate side that there's never been more surplus on the market in terms of houses for sale that aren't going anywhere. I mean, what's the truth of
I would
this
say
market?
that. Well, yeah. I mean, our market's just a little different. I mean, we have a couple of things that that kind of protect our market from the extremes. And so that would be a lot of oil and gas business floating around through here. And then, of course, we have the Air Force Base. And so having Barksdale here just guarantees we're going to have people coming in and leaving 2 times a year, right? So it usually happens they usually get their orders around April and May, transition in that time, and then again in like September, October. So we kind of always have people forced to move in and to move out. So those 2 things have really helped us. So like when you think of like the 2008 crisis, we just didn't see I mean, of course foreclosures were up, but it wasn't like in these big cities where people are just like so upside down and
Yeah.
Right.
So the inventory level, because that gets discussed a lot with real estate. The inventory level is higher than normal, lower than normal. What do you think?
No, I mean, I still think if you're talking about just nationally, there's still a demand for new construction. There's still a shortage of supply.
Yeah.
So I think what you're finding now, some of the reason why things are slow, I think that with inflation, I think a lot of it's just catching up, right? I mean, the prices just got really inflated over the pandemic, so people overbought. And so people that are trying to sell right now, they might just not be able to get the price to break them even. And so that's what we're seeing a lot of at the moment.
So really the issue or the bottleneck is more people having a harder time selling or not wanting to sell.
Yeah, well, because, you think of this, if I'm in a house and, my loan on that house is $300,000, right? So, when the interest rates are low, I could go upgrade that house. I could go get a bigger house, maybe go get a $400,000 loan, and my payments would be similar because the interest rates were so low. Well, now the interest rates are so high. I mean, even just to go and move into the same price house, your payment's going to go up, 30-40% almost.
Yeah.
So that's what's avoiding. That's what people are just locked into these great interest rates. I mean, I'm under 3% on my interest rate, so it'd be just crazy. It'd be insane for me to go sell my house.
So there's just not the appetite to trade out of that situation. And so that's stopping some of the coming and going, is that people just don't want to trade out of that situation.
Unless they have to. And that's what the Air Force Base just kind of, they're giving orders and they have to move, right? And so a lot of times, especially with the government-backed loans, a lot of times they're 100% financing, no down payment. So then they're really in a bind. If they've only lived here for 2 years, there's just not enough equity to pay commissions and all that. So, a lot of them just keep the house and rent it out.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
So we have a lot of that.
Okay.
Yeah. There's, it's a good topic to lead into politics. I want to talk about the election. So here we go.
You boys ready to get canceled? This ain't no Jason Wood, huh? Let the sin begin. I'm kidding. I love the Lord.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because in our talks, and there's a nice triangle going here. You've got real estate and trade companies. You've got new home construction, general construction, remodeling. On my side, it's building material sales.
Yep.
And we all hinge and pivot on very, very similar things.
Yeah.
And all the people who work on our teams,
sure.
We all depend on this movement, this demand for, materials or to move houses or what have you. So in this moment right now, I think the three of us are all kind of looking at the scoreboard and going, it's not exactly ideal right now. What do we need to do? How do we need to react?
Yeah. Well, and I do think that there's a reason why anytime we're talking about the national economy, the health of the economy overall, it's always brought up of home sales, right? Or construction. And that's always brought up because that is an indicator of a healthy economy, right? That, and then I think the other one would be the amount of debt that the average person has. Like those are just kind of the two things that they're looking at, or credit card debt especially. And I saw today is like over the past 4 years has increased by 46%.
Yeah.
Which is just insane.
Wild.
Yeah. So not looking good,
Right. Right.
But I did text you not too long ago asking about, what do you think it's smart right now to build a spec house?
Yeah.
And he kind of laid out some criteria that would make sense to do.
Yeah, I think that there were certain times in the past few years where it was just a no-brainer. You couldn't even. We didn't even have to put signs in the yard when we were selling these houses. A lot of that had to do with low interest rate, but there was this pent-up demand. There was an influx of money pumped into our economy. So now people that never had savings for a down payment, they just got free money from the government, and now they have a down payment, right? So there's just so many factors into that.
Yeah.
And but now we're just kind of seeing the effects of a lot of that stuff.
I remember even when I first started and was thinking about a spec, we actually did 2 specs in Keithville, and they sold like that, and then did a spec in Mansfield, and it didn't sit. And it was selling. So it's just, it is crazy how you look just a couple years ago, and then to today, where it's like, I don't know if I should do that or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of factors into it. Obviously you're going to look at school districts are a big deal. A lot of people move based off of, they don't have kids. They might buy a house where the school districts just don't matter. And then, they start having kids. They're like, okay, well, our kid's about to start school. What school do we want them to go to?
Yeah.
And so, that's always a big one. For us, a big thing here, and people don't think about it, but we're in Louisiana. Since Katrina happened, there have been a lot of changes with flood and flood zoning. And so we have these state requirements, even though we are 6 hours north. We're 30 minutes from Texas. We are still having to abide by some government policies dealing with flood and elevation that would never affect us here, but it's put in place because of what happens down south with all the hurricanes and stuff. It just applies to the whole state. Then another one, this is what we're really seeing now, which is just really crazy, is it's really hard to get insurance on houses because of the same thing. Somebody told me the other day that was in the insurance industry said that Katrina wiped out all profits from the existence of these like 60, 70, 80-year-old insurance companies. Literally that one event wiped out all their profits for the existence of their company. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
How much destruction there was. And so now it's like, I mean, so there's just a lot of things that just affect our whole state that we're affected by up here in North Louisiana that are because of what's happening in South Louisiana. So it's hard. I mean, we have insurance companies that just won't even write in Louisiana anymore. They just pulled out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you hear more of that.
Yeah.
What year was Katrina?
08?
I was going to say 07,
6.
but I could
Oh,
be
no,
wrong.
you know what? I lived in Fort Worth at the time. Yeah, I'm going to say it was 2006.
Yeah.
Because we were on the road. I remember that.
Yeah.
We weren't, around. So
2006. But yeah, so I mean, we just have I might just have a house in a very old neighborhood in Shreveport that, the Corps of Engineers might update their measurements, and all of a sudden I get a letter and it's like, oh, you need to put flood insurance on this house, mandatory.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's going to cost me another $150, $200 a year. Right. And then if it's a investment property, the rate is like double than if you live there. So it's pretty strange.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I'm actually, though, from here, I believe I'm going to meet with one of your agents to look at a new development
Cool.
for some spec houses. So
Yeah.
in saying all that,
That's awesome.
Yeah, we may jump into that and try it out. So I think it's in Greenwood.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we have the Infinity Property Groups, right here, Chris Harmon. Yep, he does a lot over there, and that's what they specialize in, new construction.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there's still a market for it. There is still a market for it and a need for it. And I love Greenwood. Is really hasn't been developed.
Yeah.
And it's a great
Yeah,
area.
so I just passed through there. We dropped off our youngest at Camp Bethany.
Okay.
And I think we talked about that at one point, maybe one of your children and the experience for, youth camp. So,
Yeah.
and I passed by and it's like, I think they're really trying to do something here.
Yeah.
So it would be nice. We'll see how it goes. I really think that a lot of people are going to get to the point, whatever happens, I guess, in November, but if you can build that house at the right price point, I think that will really get them, the green light to go ahead and do it and say, I'll just eat the interest rate because I can do it for this price. It's one or the other, it's got to be that. So
Yep.
that's what I've really been working on, is trying to figure out how to build the house, the most economically friendly that'll get somebody into it. So
Yeah.
really been trying to work and focus on that with spec houses.
Yeah. Got any ideas?
Well, no. I just think there's a desire for spec out for new construction. I mean, there's always going to be. I remember buying our first house. Because here's what you get a lot in, and this is what I've always learned in real estate, is when you have a first-time home buyer or a young couple, or even if it's a single person, a lot of times, since it takes us men to develop and mature later in life than a female, you see a lot of times females will graduate college, start their career right off the bat, and now they can afford a home. They're in their early 20s, mid 20s buying a home. And I've been burned by this before, but now I tell all of my agents, when you get in a scenario where it's a young person, first-time home buyer, or a single person, the first conversation needs to be, hey, who's the main decision maker here? Right? Because the worst thing to happen is to get contracts in place, start down the road, put a lot of time and effort in, then you have a family member like a dad come into the mix and blow the whole deal up, right? And usually it's because they're offended that they weren't included from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? And so now they have to come in and so it reminds me of The Office when Dwight goes to the house and starts checking everything, checking everything on the house, make sure the stairs are built right, and so I've had that happen. It's like, hey, we're closing in 2 days, finish line, and then all of a sudden, like this client tells their family, hey, I'm buying a house, closing in 2 days, and they're like, whoa, we need to go see this real quick.
Dad hops in.
Dad hops in. Horrible decision.
Right. Right.
And you're just like, what's going on here? So that's always the big thing is, hey, who's the decision maker here? Let's get them involved on the front end.
Yeah.
So
that work. It makes me think. It's always my favorite when you finish a custom house for a couple, a younger couple, and then when it's time to do the punch list, Dad comes in.
Oh yeah.
Dad comes in.
Yeah.
And
you
starts
didn't think
making
about
those.
this? You didn't think about doing this?
Yeah. Right.
Oh. So what's that payment going to be? Oh my gosh, what? I've never paid. Me and your mom have bought and sold 10 houses.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I'm like, well, Dad, when was the last one? 1990. I'm like, well, things have changed a little here.
Yeah, and he probably built it with his own hands.
Exactly. Yeah. Back then, the builders actually built the houses. They built the houses.
They were men.
The builder was there with a hammer every day.
That's right.
I don't know how they do it these days.
That's right. Well, just check writer right here.
Yeah. I've heard that a time or two.
Yeah.
So, the modern day contractor is a little different than
Well, and I think that it really goes into, you think of home building, obviously anything involving real estate, it tends to be high emotion, right? I mean, just emotions are high. Whether they're really excited, then they're really devastated, right? And so 99% of what you're doing and what we do as sales professionals is managing those emotions, setting proper expectations. Usually when a deal blows up, I can always pinpoint whether it's one of my agents did it or whatever. I can always go back to the proper expectations weren't set. And the difference, like if you're looking at a graph and you have, clients' expectations here, realistic expectations here, the gap between is called disappointment, right? And that's the truth, right? Put. And so we have got to, in any sales or any business, we have got to close that gap of expectations. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of reasons why we don't close that gap. Obviously, a lot of times if you're in a situation where you only have one deal in the pipeline, you're trying to hold on to that deal, right? You're trying to give it CPR every day, keep it going. And so having a proper expectation setting conversation might blow the deal up and you're afraid to do that. Yeah. Or you just don't want someone to be offended or to be hurt, right? And so we hold back. And, and that's why commercial is great because it takes a lot of that emotion out of it. Right. It's really just a balance sheet. Hey, here's, but it's just so very emotional. I remember one client, we were put this, it was just a great deal I put together, right? Off market. I knew these people, they're getting a great deal. And they said, well, we there's just a lot of like touch up paint and some stuff and some holes need to be filled that haven't been done. We want that done before we move in. And the guy selling the house was like, I'll do it, but I don't want to do it because I'm already giving it at such a discount, right? So the day before closing, we show up and of course the holes from the picture frames aren't filled in and the touch up paint. And you would have thought, we're delivering the news that somebody's getting cancer here. Like it was just devastating to them. Want to blow up the whole deal, cancel the sale. And I'm like, how much does some spackle cost, a little touch up paint? And I was just like, but the emotions are just so high. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good point that you made. And I think that, at least in this episode, you were talking about if somebody's going to buy a house or maybe build a house, what is something that's important for them to know? Obviously for you, it seems to be that, we've got to get the expectations right from the get-go. But for you, for building a house, if somebody's thinking about that right now and they're like, oh, I think it would be great to build a house, maybe when the interest rates come down, what are you telling them just be thinking about, just be aware of before you ever step into that process? What would you say?
Well, what I find a lot of the times is that people have already kind of started the process with a draftsman, somebody that's going to kind of get some plans going, and figuring out your wants and your needs, in the home, figuring out, hey, this is kind of the size, this is the sweet spot, this is what we think we can, what we can do, and just really knowing, which is hard to know because like we said, you took us a few to build to know what we actually wanted. But if you can really kind of go ahead and figure out your spacing, what are the necessities that you need as whatever your family is, whatever the size is. Yeah, man, I would say that's probably the smart thing to do is just kind of figure out what that layout looks like for you and the things that you don't have to have and then the things that you just have to have. If you have to have that $12,000 refrigerator. Yeah. I would say, a good practice in anybody building a home, the first
how many phases are there in building home? Would you say like you have phase 2, 3? Like what phase is it when you like start putting fixtures in? That towards
That's
the
towards
end.
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay off of TikTok, House.
Yeah.
Stay off of all of the things until it's time to paint and put in and pick out fixtures.
Yeah.
Because that's just the worst. They're like, oh wow, look what they did with that space under the stairs. We're just wasting that space. Hey, let's put in we want to build an arcade room under the stairs. You know, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, yeah. Just stay off of that, right?
That's right.
Because every time you're like, oh, that was a good idea. Oh man, we've already poured the slab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we get the concrete truck back out here?
Hey, yeah.
Let's just add on a little.
Yeah. Hey, we want to.
the slab.
Husband decided he wanted a man cave. You know. Oh, we need to go ahead. Oh, the big storm came through. Let's go and put a safe room in the house. you know?
Yeah.
So it's funny is we moved in and a tornado hit.
Yes, it did.
And did a little damage to ours. Did a lot of damage to some of our neighbors. But everybody that's built since then has a safe room, has a cinder block room. You see it's built first.
Yeah.
And so we're like, man, if we have time, we're just going to run across the street.
Yeah, have a neighbor that's got the thing you want.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing to tell people.
It's like a
Just
pool.
Make sure your neighbor has what
It
you
is.
want.
Hey, he has a pool.
He's got a pool.
Yeah.
Do I need one?
I heard we need to get a chiller on that thing.
It's a little warm.
A little
Yeah.
soupy.
Yeah.
It's a little soupy right now.
Yeah.
So my wife will text me. She's like, "I just going to get 20 pounds of ice to throw in the pool." It's like, hey, it
Doesn't
works.
work. Does it?
Not really.
No.
Well,
maybe
but
in the
you were
hot tub.
saying
the chiller's
your
amazing.
the chiller. Yeah.
That was amazing.
Oh, you have one.
Oh yeah. It costs about $1.50 per hour to run, but you run it at night. But I mean, it's $10 worth a relaxing day in the pool.
Yeah, but it's not just $10. You got to buy the chiller.
You got to buy the chiller.
Yeah.
That's right.
And we do have a heater.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
that's
That
going to
helps
come in handy.
for 3 months.
That's right.
Yeah.
For February.
Yeah, that's going to help a little bit.
No, it's funny is all that rain that came through
Cooled it down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
it
like 79 degrees. So I actually turned the heater on one day last week.
Yep.
It was a little too cold.
This guy plays fast and loose with his power settings, man. I can't
Well, hey,
imagine
look.
what that power bill is going to be.
We'll see. It's it's on an average.
Because he had a well-built home. huh?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Very,
Yeah.
very efficient. I will say this. Now, look, it's a big home. But there is no issue with us keeping that house at 70 degrees during 100-degree weather. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So
and you didn't even spray foam.
No.
Yep.
No spray foam.
That's right.
So
Spray foamed on the last house, and I didn't see any difference.
Right.
So not knocking these spray foam people.
Sure, yeah.
It's a cool process, especially watching them do it.
Yeah, it is. It can be a bit messy. But
Yeah.
So you're not the thermostat dad?
I still yell at the kids for leaving the door open, but that's just out of habit because I was yelled at growing up for leaving the door open. Right? Shut the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like the Will Ferrell skit about getting off the shed.
Right.
Shut the door. But yeah, so I am that. Yeah. So part of it is my wife likes to just bump that thing down, and I don't realize till I'm like, man, it's freezing in this house.
What are we talking about?
The thermostat.
Yeah. What is she on?
Oh, I mean, she'll put it on like in the middle, like she'll be cleaning the house. Like, man, it's hot in here. She'll bump it on like 66 degrees. But I don't even realize till it's like freezing at night. I'm like, what's the temperature at? Yeah.
What?
So I have to bring it back up.
There's a Bible verse about that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Look, our kids are very spoiled. Like we'll go on vacation, we'll bump it up to 75 and get home, and they're like, "Oh, we can't even sleep in here." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
I do that too when we go on vacation.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
hey, look, my wife's the same way. Whenever we go to sleep on our
Yeah.
side of the house,
Yeah.
it's a cool 66.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
get it. You got to get it down there.
66.
So obviously leaving town. We have the Nest, which is great. You forget, you just bump it. You're good. But one thing my dad did, which is like something I'm always inclined to do when we leave town, he would always turn a TV on and turn the volume up. You're like, yeah, because if anybody tries to break in, they'll be like, oh, somebody's here watching TV.
Oh, it's an anti-theft.
Yeah.
You know what? Don't blame me. I mean, there's no cars. The garage is empty.
Yeah.
But there is a TV on. Mm-hmm.
It makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like some kind of white noise type of deal.
I mean, we do have white noise pumping through our house all the time. I joke all the time, and it's so true. someone could literally come in our house and rob, just take everything in the middle of the night. We would not know.
Yeah.
We have white noise going. It's just loud.
The cats,
The kids
outside.
The cat's outside.
Right.
So,
you don't have anything watching the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, listen, man, this is we're glad to have you on.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks.
I'm really proud of you for a lot of things. Phenomenal drummer, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we probably need to talk about that before we let him off.
We
here.
can.
Well, I mean, he can't really just leave yet. We
Right.
haven't dismissed him. But
We're not
I mean,
kicking him.
look,
We're not
let's
kicking
be
him out
honest.
just yet.
Let's be honest. There are a lot of people. Even though the day, we were the new church. We have a new church building, right? We did a build out, and our first service is this Sunday, and so I'm in charge of doing the sound. So I'm setting up the sound, doing some EQ stuff.
Who's built the building?
So the building was already built, but the remodel was done with Jason Griffiths.
Jason Griffiths, yeah. My brother.
Yes.
My brother. We got to give a shout out to Jason
I love
Griffiths.
Jason.
Great guy.
If
Great
you
guy.
know Jason, you love Jason.
Great guy. Yes, and we just talk about, we bond over heavy metal concerts.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Would you say heavy metal? I don't know what it is. But
He's like my brother wanted that Pantera show, babe.
Oh yeah.
Pantera
He's like, oh man, Lamb of God. He's like, I couldn't make it. So, total side note.
Yeah.
Thrice is doing a show in Dallas coming up.
Really?
Yeah, but it's like on like a Thursday night, but it's them and Manchester Orchestra.
Okay.
Which is kind of a weird combo.
That is a
but-
weird combo.
Yeah, but I'd go see it.
Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, side note, Jason Griffiths sound, setting it up. The Clements are there talking about the podcast. I said, hey, by the way, while we're here, have y'all listened to the whole song that's our intro? And so I play Pale Rider.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, that's great. When do they play? When can we go see them?
Yeah. Well,
when can we go see Tyler Reed play?
Listen, that would be a great conversation. Just get all out in the open.
That's what
right
I'm
here,
saying.
But it's fine. We can move on. You have to
let's
talk
do
to
it.
this
Let's
guy
empty
right
the chamber. Empty the chamber right here. Let's get it all out on the
You
floor.
want all the drama, all the conflict. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
No, but anyways, I would say there is a desire and a demand for Tyler Reed to have another show in town.
Yeah, we saw that at the last one.
Well,
to be fair,
let's be honest. We were building a stage the day of.
I think we were building this.
Yeah.
might not have been the most family friendly atmosphere.
Brother, can you grab that plywood?
What is the commitment I made to you after the last show?
You said, listen, next time you play, I'll run sound. And Leighton, by the way, is a great sound man.
Not even run sound. I'll even bring somebody to run sound. I said I'm gonna clear my calendar for the whole day.
Okay.
And I will just manage the whole operation. I'll manage it.
You'll just take it over. Okay.
I'll make sure. Look, I'll make sure that you have whatever. Look, you give me your riders.
All right.
I will make sure whatever candy you want, it's there.
At one point, this is a terrible story, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
So if anybody's looking for a residential home,
let's tell this story. I have another question too.
At one point, we had an entire rider of just stuff, and it was junk. And it would always come down to just taking the rider and saying, we don't need any of that stuff, like the sandwiches or the veggie trays or anything. We just took a bottle of Sailor Jerry.
Okay.
And that was it. that was the. So listen, it wouldn't be a very difficult job.
Be bad. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And we've grown so much since then.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
what do you think? Now, in your current stage, if you were going to build out a rider, what would you just have to have in the green room?
Vitamins.
G1.
An IV drip.
Yeah. Some liquid IV.
Your massage guy.
Oh yeah.
Because every time after you play, your body is just
I could get Don there.
Actually, one show we did play, I think it was Club 3 Degrees. You remember?
Yeah.
Where was that?
Minnesota.
It was in Minnesota. They actually had a masseuse for the bands before you played.
Oh yeah.
It would.
Yeah, that might be a little too much relaxing though, right?
This was a really high end like Christian club.
Okay.
And sometimes those places were awesome. Had like that real money coming in, and they wanted to give the kids a place to go, and that's what it was. It was like a entertainment center, and they would have concerts. And
it was almost like if Surge had live bands.
Yeah, there you go.
With a masseuse upstairs.
How many baptisms were there that night of your show?
You know what? We got on several Christian tours, and several times we were pulled aside.
Okay.
And there were some conversations had about us, to us.
Okay.
And,
about your pants.
Well,
your
about a lot of
10,
things.
Your size 10 pants.
About a lot of things. We were.
I think it was an 8.
An 8. Okay.
Yeah, it was a 10. But really, we never quite fit into the Christian rock band mold, and that's okay. That wasn't what
y'all
we
never
were
found a home.
going for. We, you know what? And to be honest, like looking back, we probably just should have been Christian band. That'd been easier.
Yeah, for sure.
I know that the bands
we could probably take. I could probably take all of your songs. I could probably change 5 words in each song.
Correct.
100% Christian.
Well, this is what we'd find. We'd be on the road with one a couple of bands in particular, and they would go on the weekends and play these big Christian festivals and make a lot of money. And then during the week, they wanted to be like real. It's like, we want to play the clubs, man. And so during the week, they're getting paid like, $100 to play this club. Pretty big band. Yeah. And on the weekend, they're making thousands of dollars at the Christian conferences. And I'm just sitting here looking at this going, man, what are you guys doing? Yeah. Like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, man, praise the Lord, buddy. Go get it. What are you? It made no sense to me.
Well, that was that was a very odd tour. It was with Pillar. I don't know if you know Pillar, the Christian rock band.
Yeah.
They were trying to cross over to mainstream.
Yeah.
So they had put out a record that wasn't a whole lot of Jesus.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah.
So, but we would play like dive bars in the week with 2 people.
Yeah.
Had no idea who Pillar was.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday they'd go to the youth conference,
like Furnace Fest or like Holy Fire or something.
Thousands of people.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking the same thing. Like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah. Isn't that kind of like actors do this, right? They take a role in a movie that is tasteless, is going to be horrible, going to have like a 10 on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's actually going to get paid to do it, right?
Yeah.
So that they can go make like films that nobody will ever watch.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of same thing.
Same thing.
Well, I guess in a way, I always kind of pushed against that, but really looking back, I just missed the boat.
Let me just say this. Sure, these guys might be making a lot of money off royalties, and they might still be, living their dream, playing on rock stages. But you can go to bed every night knowing you stay true to who you are, okay?
Oh, no.
You stay true to who you are.
Is there a victory in that? I don't think so.
Hey, that is a victory.
I don't think so.
Yes.
I think we missed the boat ultimately, but, here we are. Here, I would say you're a Christian rock builder, right? You're a Christian builder?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. We are Christians in the workplace.
You build Christian homes.
Yes, I do.
That's right.
Yes. They are blessed.
That's right. See? Hey, how about you?
Hey.
Christian broker?
Yeah, there we go.
We'll get some Christian lumber over there.
Yeah.
Okay, but the point I was making back before that was I was really proud of him.
Yes.
This guy, in all honesty, like, look, I can say this now.
Let me tell you why he's proud of me.
Yes. You built his house.
I ain't go to college.
Okay, well.
Because.
Well, let's talk about the alumni at Central. Are there many more successful than you guys?
I think there's a few. There's more than you think.
Okay.
But I want to get back to my point, please. So and I can genuinely say this, and a lot of people probably know this, but the truth is, even at a very young age, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, in the studio that we would go and record in, the producers would always say something to the extent of, man, this guy is one of the best that's ever been in this studio. We have had the pleasure of recording with some very successful folks, a couple in particular that are very, very well known, one in particular that sold over 100 million records. And he will tell you that this guy is one of the best drummers in the studio that he's ever worked with. So phenomenal talent. He was a great pitcher in baseball. Pretty good. In basketball, he was all right.
It's a great white hype.
Well.
Central.
But ultimately, I'm very proud of him because he left Ivy's, and that wasn't an easy thing, right? He had a job there that worked for him, but he has built this Cadence Contracting now. Yep. And 2, 3, 4 years in, I'm not sure exactly, but anyways, it is really amazing to see somebody kind of step out in circumstances that have been good, have been bad, but to create something, because I don't know why you did it other than you felt like you had to. That's kind of the entrepreneurial journey, right?
You also think of obviously creating music, and from what I've heard and seen, Jordan is when he was in music, he was, a perfectionist, so to speak, right? Would you say you're a perfectionist?
I think that
you're
would be
dedicated to your craft.
Sure.
Very dedicated to your craft.
Actually, not really.
But I think that well, not these days, or we'd have shows every weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
What I'm saying is he's traded in the drums, and now his art really is building houses, right? I mean, that is part of being an artist. I mean, you are creating something out of nothing. Same way with music.
That's right.
You go into a studio, there's nothing you're creating. Same thing with a house. And, I've done a lot of remodels, building and all these things too, and the best ones to work with have almost an artistic eye. Right. Like, hey, just like an artist would never put out a piece of artwork until it's completed, until it's perfect, until they can like go to bed knowing, hey, I put everything into this and this is what I wanted. Same thing with house building.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I appreciate all the kind words, but I can't just sit here and just hear all that and think, I don't think any of that's true. But I do appreciate the kind words.
Yeah.
However, I've been, I think one of the reasons why, not breaking off from the company, but we had a conversation and we talked, hey, I let you know, hey, this is kind of what I want to do. I want to leave, and, I really enjoy building houses. And it was also something that I could do kind of on my own without Big Bro here, because ever since, 10th grade, it was, I'm following Big Brother's lead.
Yeah. Baby bird left the nest.
That's right. Speaking of birds, I haven't heard any.
You can tell he's
last podcast one went into the window.
See, faithful listener.
Although I am I keep crunching ice, so they might hear
that's
that.
That's probably it.
Hey,
so
let me ask you this: on the decision to leave, was it a harder conversation with Josh, or were you more nervous about talking to Josh about it, or your dad?
Probably Josh.
Okay.
Yeah, probably so. But I would say that it really wasn't difficult with either one. But if I did have any,
it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. This is what you love. Let me go. Let me fly, baby. Let me fly free.
Yeah, and listen, you're a younger brother, right? So your older brother, in a sense, from what I know of Luke, is similar to me in some respects, and it's just the sort of classic.
Can't do anything wrong yet,
Well, it's the classic. It's the classic,
that's right.
Like firstborn. It's the classic firstborn thing, right? I mean, in some ways that is very true.
The golden child.
I don't know about.
Well,
the golden child.
is. There is a philosophy in parenting and dynamic in family order that the firstborn tends to be put. It's easy for parents to put a lot of weight on the firstborn.
Yes.
And have really higher expectations,
right?
And almost create an idol out of them. That their success in parenting really hinges on this person.
And interestingly enough, in this situation, so your older brother, firstborn, right? He's still in the family business. And then I'm still in the family business. But the two of you, the younger brothers,
and then there's me.
But there's similarity here too, because obviously you guys are both considered. The funnier, the more likable, like the cooler hang, really. But you've both started your own thing. You both had to kind of find your own voice and do your own thing. I mean, so does that connect with either of you?
Well, I remember reading in Malcolm Gladwell, one of his books, which I like all of his books, but he does this study on the people that hold the record for stealing bases in major leagues. And all of them at the top are the youngest of 8 siblings.
Wow.
And he makes this point, is that when you're the younger child, you have to find a place to fit in. And a lot of that is taking huge risk, that you're taking these risks that older children usually aren't big risk takers. Right, they kind of think things through a little bit, but when you're growing up,
I agree to that wholeheartedly, because I think one of the bigger differences with Josh and I would be that that I do take a lot more risks, I think, than he does.
Yeah.
I just kind of live that way, you know?
Yeah.
He's definitely the brains,
Yeah.
and I'm going to jump out of the airplane, you know?
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me.
Yeah. I like it.
Well, I'm glad you guys have had this moment.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah. Well, hey, look, you know, I think that Busy Smalls wants to sponsor a concert for families.
okay.
You know,
Okay.
let's do
Yes.
that. Maybe,
Yes.
you know, we're pretty close to a pretty awesome venue.
Oh,
You
we
know,
are.
Hurricane
I mean,
Alley.
that would
We've
be
actually
phenomenal.
had Bo on
Phenomenal.
here.
We have.
He would love to host you guys.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
we could always throw out, you know, what's a band we want to bring into town, and y'all could open. I know y'all like to play early shows, you know, and I like to attend. That's my favorite thing about your band, to be honest with you, is that the show's over at like 10 o'clock.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
It's great.
There's no, I mean, I'm in bed at 8 o'clock every
we went
night, so.
we went in last week or 2 weeks ago. We went and saw Noah Khan at Fenway Park, but he was live streaming it. It was a thing where you could pay, you know, all of his fans, all the 14-year-old girls were paying to stream this
And you.
concert. And so I'm looking, and it's like shows at 8, you know, starts at 8:15, and I'm like, oh, doors open at 8:15, man, that's gonna be a late one. And we Google, it's like, no, he takes the stage at 8:15. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm doing the math. I'm like, we will be back in bed before 11.
It's because all of his fans have a curfew.
Yes,
Yeah. That's right.
Hey,
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah, they have to be home, you know?
That's right. That's right. Oh,
that's
so
really
good.
funny.
So,
Yeah.
so Leighton has put it out there for you. Hey, getting the show going.
Let's do
I
it.
think it would be fun.
Wow, really on
Well,
the
I think that we
Yeah.
really, here's what we need to do. We need to have something to bring our listeners together, right? Hey, you said y'all have played in front of 2 people before.
many times. Yeah.
Well, hey, let's get this. Let's get this together. You know, we'll let the Patreon subscribers sit up front.
We have a VIP,
VIP.
backstage access. You know,
Yes.
you know what we could do? We could do a lot. We need to do a live, live podcast.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Tied into a show.
Let's do it. You know.
What if we were the
You know,
openers?
I think that the last time to get some new music out of you guys and to get some to give to the listeners some Tyler Reed was the pandemic had to happen. Really, is what happened.
Right.
So I mean, is that what it's going to take? You know,
We'll see what happens
we'll see.
next year.
We'll see what happens.
Jordan, thank
All
you
right.
for coming.
Yeah,
Jordan,
I appreciate it.
Cadence Contracting.
Yeah,
Where can people find you?
Yep. So we have a Facebook page. I've done a terrible job with that. My wife has taken that over. So
Okay.
you can find Cadence Contracting on Facebook, and hopefully we're going to start doing some videos and some fun things.
TikTok.
No, you know,
Okay.
you know, we're not getting into politics today.
Okay. Okay.
So, but yeah,
All right.
on Facebook there's some photos and things.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have any remodeling needs or a new construction, we're in for it. So.
Perfect. That's right.
Yep.
I like it.